Namaskar. Hello and welcome to P Guru's channel. I'm your host Sri Iyer. Joining me today is Pushpita Prasadji of CoHNA. We're going to be talking about this continuous assault on Hindu temples, whether it is in West Coast or East Coast or somewhere in the United States. Sometimes we are also seeing this spread to other countries such as Canada. And this is becoming too regular now. And let's listen to Pushpita ji. Pushpita ji, you are in the middle of this stuff because you are much more involved in interacting with various organizations. This become a pattern now, I'm afraid. That's how I see it. Your thoughts on this?
Yeah, Namaste, Ayuji. Glad to be back on your channel. This is sort of breaking news. So obviously, I think I'm just responding as a community member who has been tackling this a lot. I think as we speak, BAPS is actually having a prayer meeting, and hopefully they will also give more detail on what happened. But for your audience's benefit, yesterday there was a more case of vandalization against a Hindu temple, this time in California. Many of you might know this temple. It's a very iconic temple. It's the biggest Hindu temple in California by BAPS. Beautiful place. I've been there. Many people must have been there. And, the usual anti-India slogans, anti-Modi slogans, but on a temple, right? And so this is, as you said, a pattern. Actually, yesterday, if I don't know if you can pull up our tweet, but yesterday we put out a tweet when this temple, when BAPS put out a statement about the violence against its temple, because we said this is horrible, but it's also very important to understand that this is not an isolated instance, right? We have been tracking this temple attacks since 2022, and it's quite a shocking long list. These are either vandalizations or burglaries. But when I look at the list as a total, I am shocked to see such a large number, and I'm shocked to see such a lack of response, right? Because if this was happening to almost any other community, I'm sure we would have seen a different reaction. So I think I just want to pause and stop there, and then we can go further into the issue. Oh, and you're pulling up the tweet, so that's
I was
great.
just pulling up the tweet even as we were speaking. Just give me 1 second so I can
Sure, sure.
zoom it in a little bit
You can
so
just
people can.
click the show more, and that is what will give you the list of the temples.
Yeah, here we go.
There we go.
And I hope
So
you are able to read it. Are you able to read it, Pushpita ji?
I'm able to read it, yeah. And I have
Okay,
my own copy here. But for your
wonderful.
audience, so you can see that we started, CoHNA is a grassroots organization focused on Hindu advocacy and education, right? So attacks on our temples are something we take very seriously because they cut to the core of our well-being, our mental well-being, and our ability to practice our religion freely, right? I mean, we all go to the temples for peace of mind, for solace. So when a sacred place like a temple is violated, it really cuts deep. It's beyond a physical issue, right? That can be addressed with a little bit. It's the mental impact that it has, and when it happens over and over and over again, the trauma that it creates. So you can see, right? We started in New York back in August of 2022, and then in the 6 month period between October 23 to like January 2024, or sorry, 3 month period, there was really a surge of attacks, specifically in the Bay Area in December, January. We saw almost 5 or 6 attacks, some of them vandalizations, some of them burglaries. Then it sort of petered off for a while, at least far as we are aware. And then again in September, we saw a couple of attacks on BAPS temples in New York and in Sacramento, and now yesterday, right? Now, what's common, some of these are burglaries, but when we see the vandalizations, we see a very similar pattern, right? It's always this cover of anti-India speech, anti-India slogans, anti-Modi slogans. But there's also a conflation of, like you saw yesterday in BAPS, right? They said Hindustan Murdabad, right? So like Hindustan, they're splitting and taking a play of words. Other times they have said Hindu terror, things like that. So our point is very clear. Look, the First Amendment is a wonderful thing. I love the First Amendment. Everyone is entitled to their freedom of speech, but not vandalizing somebody. That's not freedom of speech, right? That's literally a property crime, if nothing else. You can go and demonstrate outside the Indian embassy or whatever you want to do. Why are Hindu temples being attacked? Only Hindu temples. There are no other institutions based with India affiliations that are being attacked other than Hindu temples. That tells you that people are using the cover of political speech or anti-India sentiment to target one and only one community, and that is the Hindus. And one glaring example of that is the attack that happened on January 5th at the Vijay Sherawali Temple in Hayward. Ironically, this temple has been founded by a family that is from the Caribbean. So they moved over into the Caribbean. The man who founded it was born and brought up in San Francisco. So you are so many generations removed from India, yet you go after a Hindu temple founded by a family from Caribbean to express your anti-India sentiment. So I think the bigger point is to understand the holistic issue that we are looking at and really stop the misuse of freedom of speech and First Amendment to target a religion, right? Because this is not about political speech. You're welcome to go and demonstrate outside the Indian embassy or wherever you want to do, but they don't do that. They come and very specifically target a temple. And that's anti Hindu hate, that's Hindu phobia, plain and simple.
I couldn't agree with you more. See, in all these things, one thing I have noticed is I have rarely seen any closure statement from the police department of that concerned area. I mean, they sometimes they'll give you a press release saying that we are investigating, we have taken one person into custody. But what happened after that? Did that person get the jail sentencing, or what exactly? That closure is something that we are missing again and again. And this is very sad. Pushpita ji, I'm not going to pull any punches here. I'm telling the thing as is. Many police departments in many cities in California, at least I can tell this, they are under reporting crime to make it look like that city is safe. And it is not. Please do disabuse yourself of this. Viewers, I'm really, really disappointed with many police department chiefs. Many of them, I even know them personally. But take this thing. The people know that something has gone wrong, yet you are under-reporting it. That does not bode well for the future of the community, because it's like Pushpita ji said, it's always just one community. Why aren't other religious organizations being targeted? I'm not saying they should target them, but what I'm saying is it's a selective application of freedom of speech. This is not freedom of speech. Not at all. I'm sure Pushpita ji, just give another day or two, a video will surface of some rascal, some scoundrel putting the actual defacing job just to claim credit.
Right. Look, I mean, again, there are always bad elements in a world, right? And I think, yes, I'm also very disappointed with the lack of prosecution, right? I think the only case that actually where somebody was prosecuted was the first one in New York. That actually went somewhere. There's also, it got a little murky as time went by. But yeah, I think this is one of the big issues is there seems to be no consequence. This seems to be a community that you can attack with impunity and get away. Sometimes depending on what each temple does, there is a cycle of outrage that lasts from a few days to a few weeks, and then people sort of move on. And that's really sad, right? And you talked about underreporting. I also want to say this list that I shared, I know it's underreporting. I know there are other temples that have been targeted, but quite literally, in some cases, the temple said, "Look, if you put my name, I'll deny it ever happened." So fine, we're like, well, if you're going to deny it happened, why should we put your name? So even the temples are themselves underreporting sometimes because they are terrified. They don't want to draw attention to themselves. They just, they're kind of hoping to weather the storm. I'm not going to judge them what they're doing or what they're not, but I'm just like, we are just kind of reporting the facts and recording the facts and trying to make people aware, because this is more than just the temple, right? I mean, the temple can take security measures, but what can a average devotee who goes there do? I've heard from so many people now who have said that they have actually curtailed their visits to the temple, specifically if they have young kids, if they have old parents, because the fear is, what happens if something happens while you're there or you're entering the temple? Like, how can you guarantee the safety for yourself or for your vulnerable kids or parents, right? So that's why I say that this is now starting to impact freedom of religion, because if you are starting to think about the issue, should I go to a temple or not for reasons of your own personal convenience, but for reasons of safety, then that's definitely also a First Amendment issue, because freedom of religion is one of our basic guarantees. And what does freedom of religion mean if your place of worship is no longer a place of solace, but is constantly being targeted and you don't know where the next attack will come?
Yes, indeed. And I really, really would like this incident to be taken seriously and the perpetrators to be caught. And see, the thing is, they'll say, okay, what do somebody has this, what do you call that tool? The one that you have for making, graffiti, and you can buy it in any store. You just came and did it. It's a moment of temporary insanity. All they have good words to explain what they're doing. Look, that's not the point. This is done with intent, and that's the intent that needs to be stopped. That's what we are looking for. Thank you so much, Pushpita ji. Viewers, please spread the word around. We are very concerned about this. Like Pushpita ji listed out, it's not an isolated instance. There are many, and many are afraid to even speak up. One of the other things that they tell you is, oh, you should have your own private security. Listen, these temples are there from donations. There is no money to be spent for things like private security. That's what a CCTV camera is supposed to do, and that's why they give you the CCTV footage so that you can act on it, because these are all serial offenders. So I mean, it's really strange. Yeah, if you'd like to add something in conclusion, then we can wrap it up. Over to you.
I would just say, there is no alternative. Speak up, right? I mean, support organizations like us that are doing, but also speak up, reach out to your representative, let them know your fears, right? Because I mean, this has to be a community effort. The temples have to do one part, but we all have a responsibility in this. So, think of what Krishna said. You have to fight the battle. We are in a situation. You have to stand up for yourself. You have to stand up for your family. You have to stand up for your dharma.
Thank you so much, Pushpita ji. And viewers, please, like I said before, please spread this thing around. And we are going to get more data on this one. And let's hope that this is an isolated case and that it's a dying croak of a movement that is losing feet fast. Thank you so much, ji. Namaskar.
Namaste.